people are either entrepreneurs or they're not. That's just what I was put on this planet to do. Like, I want to create stuff and build stuff, and it's what I'm passionate about. It's what I'm good at. My dad was an entrepreneur, so I was raised by an entrepreneur. He owned like really successful chain of bars, and I feel like I kind of got it from him. I was touring a warehouse and signed a lease on my warehouse, and 4 days later, I was on my computer with like a rocker next to me. I literally do not take no for an answer, and it's just who I am.
You seem to have I'll just figure it out attitude. Like if I don't know about it, okay, I'll figure it out. Yep. And it doesn't have to be hard, only if I let it be hard.
I have really thick skin, and I feel like not a lot of people do.
Welcome to another episode on my podcast. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the journey of an inspiring entrepreneur and innovator. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce our special guest, Ashley Rogers, a dynamic entrepreneur well known for her extremely successful ventures in the food industry. Ashley co-founded Buff Bake in 2014, a protein-centric food brand. Buff Bake quickly grew into a multi-million-dollar company with products sold in more than 650 vitamin stores and carried over by 5,000 retailers in the United States and international distribution in Europe, the Gulf countries, the Philippines, and Australia. In 2018, she successfully exited Buff Bake to start Spudsy's, a brand dedicated to creating better for you and better for the world snacks by upcycling imperfect sweet potatoes into plant-based puffs and fries. Under Ashley's leadership, Spudsy successfully secured over $9 million in Series A funding and achieved nearly $30 million in sales. The brand is currently distributed in 15,000 retail stores across the United States, including major retailers such as Target, Walmart, and Whole Foods. Ashley successfully exited Spudsy this year. Currently, she is focused on her latest project, Sprinkles CPG, a sister company to the famous Sprinkle cupcakes, which offers cupcake-flavored chocolate treats inspired by the beloved flavors of Sprinkles' signature cupcakes, exclusively sold at Target and Walmart stores across the United States. Join us as we dive into Ashley's own personal story, her passion for innovation in the food industry, how to create the perfect brand with the vision to sell, what it truly takes to be successful in the product world, and lastly, the importance of not taking no for an answer. Ashley, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to you.
Excellent.
I normally don't do these because I'm like so transparent.
That's all right.
I feel like they like get me in trouble, and I'm like, but here I am.
I feel like being as transparent as you possibly can is the best way to be.
Yeah. I feel like at this point in my life, I can now.
Good.
Yeah. Because like other like businesses or partners, it was like harder to be, but now I feel like I can be
at a better place.
Open and honest.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start here. You didn't go to college.
No.
You barely graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you stepped out into the world of probably what I consider the hardest industries to tap into and have created successful multi-million-dollar companies.
Mm-hmm.
Not once, not twice, but multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you realize like that was the thing for you?
I think growing up, like I always knew school wasn't for me. Like I was literally a straight D student. I hated high school. Like I ditched all the time. I just knew it just wasn't for me. My dad was an entrepreneur, so I was raised by an entrepreneur. He owned like a really successful chain of bars in Vegas and ended up selling those. So I just watched him go through that whole process. And I mean, he's like he's a New Yorker, so he's like very assertive, and he's just an entrepreneur. And I feel like I kind of got it from him, but I also feel like people are either entrepreneurs or they're not. Like it's either like instilled in you or not. And I mean, that's just what I was put on this planet to do. Like I want to create stuff and build stuff, and it's what I'm passionate about. It's what I'm good at. I mean, what you said in the intro, like I literally do not take no for an answer, and it's just who I am.
What do you think it takes to make a quality entrepreneur, or the difference between somebody who makes it and somebody who doesn't?
I mean, definitely persistence, not giving up, having a vision,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I mean, just working towards that, like working towards whatever your vision or your goal or your passion is, and not taking no for an answer.
The key ingredient.
Yes.
Don't stop at no.
Yes.
Let's go back to Buff Bake.
Yep.
When did you first realize that that was the place that you wanted to be, or how did Buff Bake come to be?
Yeah. So actually before Buff Bake, so my first business that I ever did, actually, let's start with my first job.
All right,
My first job, I was 21 years old, lived in Vegas. I worked at Rehab. It was a pool party at the Hard Rock.
Yep.
And I was a cocktail server there. Like the girls here, they killed it. Like I would literally leave with like $1,000 a day in tips. Like it was the best first job ever. I have always been super into health and fitness. The girls that I worked with, like we would eat healthy meals. And I realized working there that like it was hard to find healthy meals. Like and the lunches that we packed, just like they weren't good. So my first company was actually a meal prep company. I called it LV Lean Box, and I left the Hard Rock to go start this LV Lean Box company and prep meals for these cocktail servers and industry workers. And I started like with providing these meals to the people at the Hard Rock. And then it kind of ventured out to like all of these industry workers on the Strip. I built this cool little company, and that was really the first business I sold. I got lucky with that one though. So one of the clients that I was making meals for, he was this tech guy, owned this computer company. He recently had an exit and he wanted to get into food. And he's actually the guy that purchased my company. So after I purchased that, it gave me like, or after I sold that, it gave me like my first taste for like what it's like. And I wanted to get out of Vegas. So I took that money, I moved to California, and that's kind of how I started Buff Bake. The thing I didn't like about the meal prep company is, I mean, short shelf life. I had to sell the product quick. Like I knew I didn't want to do that again. So that was really a big learning lesson for me. I knew the next thing I started, like it had to be something that I had more time than a week to sell. Health and fitness, again, is something that I'm super passionate about. So protein was really trending. And then that's how Buff Bake was born. My dad has a twin brother. They're business partners in everything they do. His daughter is my age. Her name's Brittany. And so we decided to start Buff Bake together. So started that in 2014. And it really, I call that my college experience because I didn't go to college and I barely graduated high school. It taught me everything I knew about like partnerships, starting a business, sales, marketing, logistics, raising money. That was the first time I raised money. And yeah, pretty much everything that was my first little learning lessons I learned in Buff Bake.
What was the hardest part about raising money?
It's funny because for me, I feel like that's not hard. Like it's
Interesting.
just, yeah, I feel like now it probably is a little bit harder because investors are more like weary of what they invest in. Like I would say there's less like seed startup investors than there was 10 years ago in my industry. And now they want to see like more of a proven concept. Like you need to be at that like $5 to $10 million in sales before you kind of like get somebody who wants to put money in your company. That's what I'm seeing now. But I don't feel like it was really that hard. Like the first time I raised money, we had a couple $1 million in sales. We had a huge online business. That was like right when Instagram was taking off, it's actually right when Instagram like started. So influencers weren't even a thing yet. So we would ship people product, like influencers at the time, and they would post, and our Shopify would go insane that day because people weren't used to like being sold by these people on Instagram.
Yeah, it was more natural back then.
It was like an anomaly. Yeah. It's crazy to see like be at the beginning of that and what it is now, where like no one wants to buy anything because you're getting retargeted by 100 brands a day, you know? But yeah, I feel like, what was the question again?
So my question was what was hard about raising capital or money?
Yeah.
So for you, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
I asked that question knowing that it is hard for most people, right? Even to ask for money or whatever it might be. So if raising the capital wasn't hard for you, what was hard for you? Or what did you struggle with the most?
It's funny. I don't really think any of it's hard. I feel like you just like, you got to do it, you know? Like I don't know. Partnerships. That was the hardest thing for me.
Okay.
Like in Buff Bake, I had 5 partners and having like too many cooks in the kitchen.
As in 5 business partners?
5 business partners that were all equals. So all cooks. Like that was probably the hardest part for me, which was probably one of my biggest learning lessons. Like I'm friendly with all of my partners today. But that was, it was hard. And at one point I would say it was like toxic, like having that many cooks in the kitchen. But again, it was another learning lesson under my belt that I took with me when I started Spudsy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When you say too many cooks, being everyone has an equal say as to what the company has, how money gets spent, like on a business level?
It's hard. I would say if you're going to start a business with a partner, I feel like it's important to like identify your roles like in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because like if you don't do that, and no one really knows what their role is and everyone has equal ownership, it's like it's hard on everyone, you know? So yeah. But I mean, I learned from that and I started Spudsy alone.
Okay. So when you sold Buff Bake, was there an overlap?
No. So, well, kind of. So I knew I wanted to leave Buff Bake.
Yep.
I knew I wanted to leave Buff Bake probably 8 months before I left, and I started working on Spudsy in the background.
And why was that? Why did you want to leave?
I was just ready.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I feel like when I'm ready, like I'm ready.
Yep.
And I like start working on my next thing and I figure out
everything else.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually really huge for me too, because I feel like leaving Buff Bake and starting something on your own, like, I mean, obviously that's a high failure rate to do that. So it was scary because I did Buff Bake with multiple people. So a part of me like questioned a lot, like, can I do this on my own? Like, you know, but yeah, I did it. Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So you then started Spudsy's.
Yes. Then started Spudsy's.
How did you come up with that idea?
So I saw other brands this was 2018. I saw other brands popping up that revolved around like chickpea, cauliflower, weird vegetables that didn't resonate with me or I didn't want to eat. Like I don't want to eat cauliflower or chickpeas, but sweet potato was always a big part of my diet and I couldn't figure out why no one was creating a brand that revolved around the sweet potato. I feel like every restaurant in America sells sweet potato fries. It's just an ingredient everyone gets. And I decided I was going to build a platform brand like really around the sweet potato. I also liked what Hippies was doing. So Hippies is a chickpea puff and they were like killing it. I mean, their first launch partner was like 8,000 Starbuckses and Starbucks is impossible to get into. They carry like 10 products that are not Starbucks. So to launch with Starbucks is like a big deal. I reached out to their manufacturer like on a whim and I was like, hey, looking for a manufacturer. This is what I want to do. The CEO at that time, like just liked me, I guess. And he's like, come to Ohio next week. Like literally it happened this quick. So he invited me out to Ohio, the manufacturer that makes Hippies. And I sat in the room. I had my little pitch deck. I pitched him the idea and he's like, I like it. And he's like, I'm going to give you $700,000 in free product to start your brand. And I was like,
shit.
Okay. And
that's
that's pretty much how Spudsy came to be. Yeah.
What did you learn from the startup by yourself?
That I could do it on my own. And yeah, I mean, what did I learn about the startup by myself? I guess I learned to believe in myself more. And I truly believe that like if you set your mind to something, like you could do anything. And I feel like that's really what Spudsy taught me.
You seem to have I'll just figure it out attitude.
Yeah.
Like if I don't know about it, okay, I'll figure it out. And it doesn't have to be hard, only if I let it be hard. Where did you get that mentality from? Or how did you cultivate that type of mentality? Because not everybody has that.
I feel like it's just me. I
Just
don't know.
just born
I
that
was
way.
born with it.
Do you think it was a product of being around like your dad?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I feel like my dad, I don't see it, but like my husband sees how my dad's rubbed off on me in ways, and both good and bad. But I do feel like it was kind of just the way that I was raised and the people who I was raised around.
Environment's everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
While scaling Spudsy's, you had 2 children, right?
Yes.
So in between scaling Spudsy's, you've become a mum twice.
Yep.
How did that, I don't want to say affected because Spudsy's is doing fantastically. How did that challenge how you were able to show up in the business now being a mum of two young girls?
I feel like another thing Spudsy taught me is like your team is everything. Like at the end of the day, you can't do it all yourself. And the team that I built around me in Spudsy, like if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I think it's just like the people you put around you. And they're the ones who like really made it so I was able to be a mom and own a business. But I mean, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, like literally my 4-year-old, like 2 days after having her, like, or 2 weeks before I closed a round of funding. The day that I had her, I was touring a warehouse and signed a lease on my warehouse. And 4 days later, I was on my computer with like a rocker next to me. So like.
You were still in the gym at that time, weren't you?
No, I actually, I waited to go back to the gym.
Oh,
but yeah, it was, I don't know, like. I was like put on this planet to build brands. Like I feel like and be a mom, but like I feel like some people are like moms, you know, but I'm like, I don't
I know what you're saying. Like I get it.
Yeah, like I'm like, I don't know, it's just what I do. It's what I'm passionate about. It's what keeps me going. Like I have to be working because it's like kind of like my hobby too.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know. I just like.
Do you think it stems from somewhere else?
No, we just like working.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like building. I could never work for somebody else.
Of course.
Yeah. Like it has to be like me, mine. Like I'm building something for me. Like, and I don't like work for a paycheck. You know, like to me that's not appealing. Like equity and knowing that at the end of the day there's going to be a big check, hopefully, if you sell a company, like that's what I'm in it for. But it's not like only that drives me. It's like I truly love building, you know, like it's what gets me excited. It's what I'm passionate about. Like I love hire like my team and like building other people up and teaching them. Like it's what I do. I don't know. It's what I was meant to do.
Do you prefer the journey as opposed to the destination?
It's funny because I read these things all the time and it's like, enjoy the ride. You know, it's hard to enjoy the ride a lot of times because it is like stressful. But looking back and me now, so now I'm 35. I started my entrepreneur journey at like 23. I feel like now, like the older I get, I'm learning to enjoy the ride more and like be more patient. Cause like I'm not patient. Like when I want something done, I'm like, I want this done. I need to figure it out now. But I've got better at that too. I think it's just like with experience and learning lessons, like, I don't know, you grow into that and you learn to enjoy the ride more.
So why the food industry? Like of all industries you could have picked from, you picked from the food industry.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that I am passionate about as well. Like I could spend an hour in a grocery store just like looking at branding and looking at products. And I don't know, I mean, from the meal prep thing to then going into buff bake, I feel like I just learned it so quick. And it's like the first business that I started was in food and it kind of evolved from there and I stayed in it. But I'll never launch another food product again.
I was going to say,
mark my words. I will never launch another food product again.
If I was wanting to step into the food industry,
yeah, it's really, really hard.
I was going to say, how hard is it?
Yeah, it's really, really hard.
Do you know the average of businesses that actually succeed in this space?
Like less than 1%.
Why
for
is that?
Food and beverage is even less.
Why?
because it's super saturated.
Mm-hmm.
It's so you're not just profitable with food. Like
Yep.
it takes a lot to build a brand. It takes a lot of money to build a brand.
Mm-hmm.
I would say to properly launch a food or beverage brand, minimum $10 million. Like between your team, your marketing, getting into these retailers, like it's funny because I mean, perception's everything, right?
Of course.
But I feel like people's perception of me is probably like, damn, this girl's in 20,000 stores. She's making a fortune, blah, 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 blah. That's not the case.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the case. I mean, Spudsy, yeah, it takes a lot for a brand to like even become profitable. It takes years to become profitable when you're building a food brand because, I mean, there's not a ton of margin there, you know? And the amount you need to put into supporting the retailers, like, getting into the retailer is one thing. Like getting the product on the shelf, great. But after it's there, like that has to convert. People have to buy it. And in order for them to buy it, you have to do promos. You have to invest in off shelf. So you're like on an end cap and people can discover you for the first time, or demos, or give the retailer a discount so they can buy 2, get 1 free. Like all of that costs a lot of money. And then there's the team behind it, you know? You need somebody to help you manufacture it, sell it, market it, do all the logistics because pallets have to ship from one state to the other. Like there's a lot behind it. Did I talk you out of it?
No. I mean, maybe we'll see. There's obviously a big difference between the service industry and a product industry.
Yes.
In so many ways, right? Like you said, there is no logistics in service, or there is marketing to a degree, but it's not like marketing to get into a Walmart or a Whole Foods.
I feel like there's less overhead.
Hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely. Unless you're white labeling, but even then you still have to worry about the logistics side of things.
Yeah.
So take me back to high school.
Yep.
You're struggling with school.
Yep.
Not sure what you want to do. What was the hardest thing that you were struggling with in that time?
So when I feel like the hardest part about high school and also what taught me a lot about my life and like gave me my thick skin. So I wasn't the best student in high school. When I was 14, my parents like went through a divorce.
Yep.
So I think that was really hard, going through that, like as a freshman in high school. Cause that's kind of like when all your firsts happen, you know, like the first time you drink or go to a party or whatever. Yep. So yeah, I feel like I struggled with that a little bit. Yeah.
How, like in terms of trying to fit in or trying to find your place?
I think you're just at that age, you're just trying to figure out who you are and like what you want to do, you know? So, I mean, you're already so like volatile as a 14-year-old, you know, and then to like have something traumatic, like, I mean, I had a very traumatic childhood, with my parents, but so when I was 14, because I hated high school, like my freshman year, I missed 180 days of school. Oh, no, sorry. I missed 90 days of school out of 180 days of school. So my dad...
Freshman being what year?
9th grade.
Okay.
Yeah. So first year of high school. Is that how it is in Australia?
I just had to check because we just go by years.
Got it.
Like, so freshman to me, no idea.
Yeah. So I got sent to a boarding school in Ensenada, Mexico. It was actually, there's this big Netflix documentary that just came out on it. It was called Casa by the Sea, and it was basically a prison. So like when I was there, a girl she killed herself because she drank cleaning solution. Like it was that bad. Like you had to wear uniforms, like you had to walk in lines, like the food that I ate I was there for 4 months. Thank God I wasn't there longer, but I'll get into that. Like the food that they fed you was basically rotten, but you had to eat it. Like I ate blue chicken. I had to drink juice with like ants floating in it. So I feel like this experience like kind of shaped me into who I was too, because I went through a lot at a young age.
Yeah, that's like primitive years too.
Yeah, pretty much. Like this school was on Oprah, like for abusing people. Like thank God nothing like abusive. Like mentally, physically, sexually. Never
Yeah.
happened to me, but unfortunately it did happen there. And the girls and boys, like the boys there would get they would literally get the shit beat out of them. Like they had it really bad too by these people that ran the school. And the one that I went to was in Mexico, but they actually have them all over the United States. This documentary specifically on Netflix, it was the New York school that they focused on, Ivy Ridge or something. It was the sister school of the one in Mexico, Costa by the Sea. But when I was there, it actually got shut down by the American government. So I woke up one morning and there was fire trucks and police officers everywhere. And the girls were like going crazy running around. And like, it was you couldn't even talk to each other. Cause like I didn't talk for 4 months. Like you could not be in a room with 2 people. There had to be a third person there because people would try to make runaway plans like every single day. It was psycho, but I was there when it got shut down by the American government, and it's sad because my dad was there to pick me up, and a lot of girls, like my dad told me when he was outside of the gates, like waiting to get in, either an escort was picking you up or your family was picking you up, and he said the parents outside were like, "What are we gonna do with them now? Where are we gonna send them?" Like. It was really sad. And a lot of girls walked into the room, not even to see their parents, but to see an escort to literally blindfold them and take them to another school. So that was like a very traumatic.
What were you there for? And what was the point of the school?
I mean, I was bad. I feel like I was out of control. And I was just went through this rebellious stage. But I mean, I feel lucky that I went through it so young. Like I feel like everyone kind of goes through a state, like not to the extent that I did. Okay. But
okay,
like,
I was going to clarify, when you say go through a state, do you mean like a wild state or?
Yeah. Or just like,
I feel like every teenager does.
Yeah.
It's just to what level of degree.
Yeah. So, I mean, my dad didn't know where he was sending me either. Like he thought he was helping me, but I mean,
it was not in a malice. It was like,
he didn't know that he was sending me to a prison that was going to get shut down by the American government. Like he thought he was sending me somewhere that was like going to help me focus more on school. And like his daughter was going through a hard time because her parents were getting divorced, like, so.
How did you come out of that on the other side? Because you're 14?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't feel like stuff like that really affects me.
Interesting.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like I was that affected by it. I do feel like there's a level of me blocking it out as well because it was so traumatic.
Yeah. Well, to that level at that age, I could see how the subconscious or the conscious mind would block it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do feel like because I went through all of that at a young age, 1, I got it out of my system, and 2, I feel like it just made me that much stronger.
Such an interesting take on it, right? To be able to look at it through that lens and be like, yeah, it happened and it was pretty shit. But the positive is, if there can be a positive from the situation, from something like that, is that it made you into the person that you are now, which is much stronger than maybe if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Which is, a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah.
Did you go back to American school after that?
After that, I just came home because it's crazy because I would write my parents letters of like what was happening and you had to email them to a counselor and they took out so I'd write my parents a letter this long and they would send them this long. They would take everything bad out. So after that experience, my dad's like, you're coming home.
Yeah, I bet.
I believe in school if you like want to be a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer but like if you don't want to be those things, like
why
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I feel like real life experience is everything. Like that's what everything that I know, I have learned from real life experiences and failing and all of these little businesses that I've done and started. Like that's really what has taught me what I know today. I don't know how much I learned from high school.
Yeah, I was the same.
Yeah.
I didn't like to be in the classroom. I thought I'd do better working than I would have sitting in a classroom. I was the same.
Yeah.
I think I did graduate, but barely. And it was just working would have been a far better option to learn as I went along.
Yeah. Or like be like working under somebody that is in the field that you want to be in. Like I always like if I wanted to get into a different field now, I would literally find the best. Like if I wanted to get into commercial real estate, I would find like the king of commercial real estate and literally go beg 10 of them to let me work under them for free.
Yeah.
And I'd learn from them for however long I had to before I felt like I could move to my next step.
I feel like that mentality is not in everybody.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are lazy. I don't know. Or a lot of people are content with their lives. Like I want to have an amazing life and like I have this vision for my life and I want the most out of it, I guess. Some people are just comfortable and that's fine too, you know, but I know what I want and I feel like I know what's going to get me there. And I feel like that's what I'm doing and how I live my life.
What vision do you have for yourself?
I want to, well, healthy, number one, me, my family healthy, happy, financially free, and have just the ability to do what I want when I want to do it. Is really my vision. It's pretty simple, you know?
Well, yeah, it is, right?
Yeah, I want to feel free, you know? I don't want to feel like I ever like need to be doing something. And I feel like that's like what I've set myself up for.
So you sold Spudsy.
Yep.
And then you moved on to Sprinkles.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So I didn't sell Spudsy. I'm like in the process of that whole thing happening right now. But so my investors in Spudsy, who are amazing, I literally would not be here where I am today without them. And I'm so grateful for them because they basically saw what I did in Spudsy and they believed in me and they plucked me from Spudsy and put me in Sprinkles. So my investors in Spudsy own Sprinkles Cupcakes. And I mean, Sprinkles Cupcakes has been around for 20 years, iconic brand. We have bakeries across the country. Our influencers are like Reese Witherspoon and Jessica Alba, like just huge cult following behind the brand. Vending machines, cupcake ATMs in almost every airport in the country. So yeah, because they've built this amazing brand, they're like, why don't we launch a product into CPG, into retail? So that's kind of what I've been tasked to do is run Sprinkles CPG. And they came to me in June of last year. So June of 2023. And today, July 2025, we have a whole team. I identified our manufacturer and we're currently in 4,000 Walmarts and 2,000 Targets. So
impressive.
When they came to me 12 months ago, like we didn't even have a product. I had like everything. So I found the manufacturer. I was solo for probably the first 3 months. And then I have like a right-hand person, my VP of Ops in Spudsy. I would die without her. Her name's Tasia. She's really helped me do everything I do in Spudsy. Then I kind of pulled her in. And then from there, we kind of build our team on top of that. But yeah, we had nothing. So I found, sourced the manufacturer. I created the chocolate bars, which is what they came to me with, is this idea of chocolate bars. We invented this cupcake cup right here. And then, it's
phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you. Getting into Walmart and Target is probably the hardest retailers to get into, especially Walmart. Like
over Whole Foods?
Oh yeah. Really? Walmart is like a beast. It's like the largest retailer in the world. It's like, it's very complex getting into Walmart. So that alone is like a very long process, like 9 months, like of back and forth paperwork. Like it's hard to get into Walmart. But yeah, today we're in 4,000 Walmarts and 2,000 Targets and
in a year.
Yeah, it's going good.
How did you come up with the cake idea? Well,
the cupcake cup?
Yeah.
So I loved the bar idea that they originally had. But being in there 4 months and talking to some of these buyers, because I immediately went to all my contacts and all my buyers. And I was like, this is the new thing that I'm doing. Like, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Getting feedback. And what I learned is the bars are a little bit more saturated than than like bagged chocolate. Like chocolate in bags that have like single wrap servings have higher velocity than just a bar. The bar is like an easier entry point to the brand because the price point's lower.
Interesting.
But the velocity on chocolate, bag chocolate, is higher. So I wanted to create a bag chocolate product. Also, I was learning like some of the bar categories and some of these retailers, like they were just oversaturated on bars and they were looking for bag chocolate. And I wanted to bring like the word cupcake or like connect the dots on cupcake and chocolate. And I felt like the cupcake cup did that. And it's innovative. Yeah. So if you're going to launch a food product, I feel like first and foremost, like it has to be innovative and it has to be different than like the whole Me Too thing of products. It's borderline impossible. But like if you have an innovative product, like
I think that's
like
what's
that's what wins.
Yeah, and I think that's what's consistent throughout all your brands. They're like so different to anything out there. Like Spudsy's, the creation of taking an imperfect sweet potato. When I read that, I was like mind blown. Like when you think of all the sweet potatoes that go to waste because somebody doesn't want to eat the weird looking sweet potato.
Yeah.
And then you take it and turn it into something like that. Phenomenal.
The mission aspect of brands, I've done like a ton of research on, and people like really love a mission, you know, like they love a brand that has a mission over a brand that doesn't have a mission. Yeah, at least a good amount of people do. Yeah.
Yeah. Buy into it, or I can relate to the mission in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Would you agree that that's across everything, not just the product industry?
Innovation?
No, having a strong mission or message for it.
Yeah, I think it relates to a certain, I mean, not everyone, but I feel like it relates to a good amount of consumers, especially now in 2024, you know?
To be a part of something.
Yeah.
Or understand where the brand's wanting to go.
Yeah. Yeah. But being innovative, I feel like is crucial in any industry.
Yeah.
There's too many people trying to do the same thing.
Well, it's like, you have to stand out.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just, and that's kind of what's happening in Instagram a little bit. Like what I see in the service industry, right? Is that everybody's the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like you might get 1 in 5 that are different, but those other 4 are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Why do you think most people get stuck at the first no? You're like, I have an answer, but I shouldn't say
some
it.
people, I know, I like what I just said in my head. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like some people, like, I have really thick skin, and I feel like it takes that, like, you know, not a lot of people do. I mean, hearing no isn't easy. Like me, it lights a fuel on my fire.
Yeah, it's like someone told me no, and it's like, watch me.
Oh, yeah. I'm like,
me.
I'm going to be back and you're going to say yes, or I'm going to bug the shit out of you until you do.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to make friends with you. Like, whatever I got to do here
to make this a yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what stops people? Like, it's a bit rejection. Like, yeah, I'm getting rejected. But what else?
I mean, I feel like if a no stops you, then I don't know. People give up on themselves, I guess, too soon. I don't know.
How do you take that no and turn it into a yes?
Persistence. Persistence or building a relationship. I feel like building a relationship is crucial with I mean you've got to build relationships, like a lot that people invest in you, like because of the person that you are. So I feel like that's really big to turn a no into a yes, like time and I mean not giving up.
How did you develop thick skin? Because that's a trait that not everybody has.
Yeah, I feel like
in the current world. At least.
Again, how I was raised, I would say is and by my family, how I was raised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you the only child?
No, I have an older sister and a younger brother.
Oh, interesting. And you're the only entrepreneur out of both?
We're actually all entrepreneurs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what do the other two do?
My sister does real estate and owns a party business, and my brother's like deep in real estate. He flips houses. Yeah.
Amazing.
And owns his own brokerage. Yeah.
In Las Vegas?
One's in Las Vegas, my brother, and my sister's in Utah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's current plans for Sprinkles?
To become $100 million brand and sell for hopefully hundreds of millions of dollars.
And how long? Because it's been a year.
I mean, Sprinkles already has so much brand awareness around it, and they've already cultivated this amazing brand and consumer. So, I mean, I feel rather quickly, maybe 3 to 4 years. Yeah.
That's actually very quick.
Yeah. Maybe 5.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting at home thinking about creating a brand, regardless of what industry it's in, what's my first step?
If you're sitting at home wanting to create a brand, do you know what the brand is already?
No.
Okay, well, that's the first step.
What a great answer.
Yeah. The first step is getting like crystal clear on what it is you want to do and why you want to do it. Yep. I would say looking into, do you have competitors out there? Is what you're trying to do actually innovative? You know, I do feel like that is everything. Like you have to be creating something that's innovative and different, especially a product. There's also the way that you market it, you know, like you can be successful with a Me Too product if you have better marketing than the other product. But I really do feel like innovation wins. And then, I mean, I learned everything that I know from Google. How to find a manufacturer, chocolate manufacturers, puff manufacturers, like that's step one. Who's going to make the product for you? And then are you going to do all the sales and marketing? Or where are you going to sell your product? Are you going to be a direct to consumer brand or are you going to sell into retail? Like there's a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
No, that's okay. Like so many directions.
Yeah. You got to start though. You got to start. Right? You got to determine what it is you want to do. And then you just kind of go from there. Like, and you have to talk to people. I'm so conscious, like self-conscious of this one nail it's between my legs the whole time.
I don't think anyone would have seen it until then.
No, you just have to start, and like the more you talk to people, the more you learn. Yeah. Like if you take a little bit from every single person, that leads you to the next person you need to talk to.
I agree.
You know, so it's just like you have to start the journey.
Yeah. It's like sometimes I jump the gun too soon sometimes. I like think about the next thing. I'm like, okay, I'm going. As opposed to taking a second, thinking about it, and then making my plan for the next steps. I feel like other people sometimes get stuck in the loop of paralysis by analysis where they won't start because they're like, oh, I don't know how to do X. So instead of going and figuring it out, I'll just stay here and keep trying to figure it out instead of just doing.
Yeah, I feel like it's funny. My husband's like, I mean, just this last week, I've like determined that I'm going to be this influencer, right? And like within a week, I'm like, okay, website built, Instagram, this. Like, I almost feel like the longer you sit and marinate in like this thing that it is you want to do, like the worst.
I overthink
place.
It.
Yeah, I feel like that's where people kind of get caught up. I feel like is when they sit there and overthink it. Like that's why I'm just like, you got to go. Like you got to go. You got to do it. Because the more that you overthink it, I feel like the more that you like doubt yourself and the harder you think it's gonna be. As opposed to just like starting and like kind of learning as you go.
I agree with that.
So like when I have an idea, I'm just like, go. Like,
and it's like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it's gonna work.
I was gonna say with you, it's not gonna work.
Like
you've proved it 100%.
Well, that's just like the mentality you have to have though. Like, cause like everything really is figure outable. You just like have to figure it out. Like if all these other people in the world
can do
it,
we're
in Newport Beach. Like you look at all these houses sitting here on Newport Beach. Like how do all of these people in a $15 million house? They figured it out. So why can't I figure it out? You know?
I actually like that a lot. It's like I said earlier, environment's everything. And if you surround yourself with those people, it's like me looking at you. You'd be like, Ashley did it. Why can't I? Just have to figure it out.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Trying to raise $9 million. For your brand for Spudsy's. Did you have to do the same thing for Sprinkles, or because it was you're stepping into a new company, did you have to apply the same I guess lessons learned.
Yeah, because it was the same investors, like it was already funded when I came into Sprinkles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to worry about finding finance for that. It was just a straight come in, create the product, and then move forward as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's next for you as you build out
What's
Sprinkles?
next? Yeah, I want to start. I'm in my giving back era. No, I realized I really like helping other founders, and people creating products or building brands or starting their business. Like, and I also feel like a lot of people out there are full of shit. Like, and they talk the talk, they haven't walked the walk. And
Yep.
I know for a fact I've walked the walk and I have all of this expertise and like, I really do want to help other people. So I feel like that's kind of what I'm going to focus on. Like, obviously my priority being Sprinkles, but I want to start creating content about my journey and doing what you're doing and like talking to other founders that are starting their brand and like see what that turns into for me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
On Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
Just Building Brands.
Do you have one or two?
Just that one.
Just that one.
Yeah, my other one's like my personal one that only my family and friends follow.
And other platforms?
Just that for now. Maybe more to come.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We'll start there for now.
Yeah.
Ashley, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Hopefully we get to do it again soon.
Yes.
But thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.